What's up, fellow investors? Welcome to JMac Investing. My name is Jason. Today we're going to take a look at Lucid Motors. Lots of hype and lots of hate, just a lot of drama surrounding this company. So I want to dive in and I want to make an assessment of if this is just hype or could this be an investment opportunity of a lifetime. Let's get right into it. All right, so like I said, I hope you all are doing well. Welcome to JMac Investing. Glad to have you. This is my buddy Pickle over here, Mr. Pickle. He is a tough guy. He's been a little mad at me because I have neglected to have him in my last couple videos, so he's not really been talking to me, but he's going to help me at the end of this to summarize and let you know if he likes Lucid Motors as well once we wrap this whole thing up. So let's talk about Lucid. Ticker symbol on this one coming public via Churchill Capital, ticker symbol CCIV. You all know the ticker. You've heard it. You've seen it. It was the most hyped thing. I stayed quiet on this one. I made one video when the rumor had hit the presses. So I made one video kind of covering it and my initial thoughts on it. I invested early in warrants real cheap, well, fairly cheap as far as it goes, $4 or $5. And so I wind up selling 75% of my warrants on the run up, where everyone was, anyone who sold or was taking profits, people were just giving everyone a hard time for taking profits. And it turns out you probably should have taken profits all the way up. And that's what I did. I sold in like 200 warrants at a time as it was going up, running up real high. I actually didn't get to sell any at the very, very top on this one, but I still made plenty of money because this one ran up to the most we've ever seen on any rumor before the definitive agreement. This was just insane, right? So I made really good money, right? And I wind up hanging on to, like I said, 25% of my warrants. I still have those at that cost basis. And so, it is what it is. I still have it, and I'm up. Even when it was at its lows, when it came down to 27 is about the lowest it's been. I mean, I was still up 150% or so, right? So either way, I'm going to be good on my warrants no matter what happens. But I want to talk about, what has happened once they announced the definitive agreement, the sell-off, and a couple more things maybe that have affected investor confidence in Lucid Motors and CCIV. So it all kind of started when the definitive agreement was signed and the investor slide deck and the details of the definitive agreement were released to the public. So like I said, so some of the mistrust occurred because Churchill Capital kept saying that they were going to come in at a valuation between 11 to 15 billion. A couple different Reuters and Bloomberg, there's a couple different articles where it was between 11 and 15 is what most investors were thinking. So they were kind of using that as their valuation metric on the share price, right? So what happened was, though, CCIV agreed to pay 11.75 billion for Lucid's existing business, and then you got to add the blank check company's 2.1 billion in cash and another 2.5 billion in cash from institutional investors, and you get a post-deal equity of 16.3 billion, which already with the pipe and the other investments, it all still already came a little bit higher than the original thought. But then the company also cited a valuation of 24 billion. Why is that? Because the institutional investors agreed to buy CCIV at $15 a share, which is a 50% premium to its net asset value, but far below its current share price. Apply that premium to the entire equity, and you get roughly $24 billion. That ballooned the valuation up to $24 billion, and then there was a massive sell-off, right? That alone, because at $60 or whatever, it had the value at valuation at $90 billion or so. So what I want to talk about and begin to kind of unfold is the company itself, Lucid. What do they have? Or should they be applied a very, very big growth multiple? Do they have the innovation? Do they have the things that set apart a company, kind of like Tesla? We're going to find out. The other big thing that occurred that has also played into investor sentiment and investor distrust is the fact that Lucid Motors stated that they are postponing. They were supposed to begin to deliver the Lucid Dream Air Edition, which is the most expensive high-end version of the Lucid, was going to be their first limited edition model, and that was going to come out in spring 2021. So that would be rolling out anytime now, right? It should be. It could. Well, all of the original, even the slide deck said it. They've already changed course, and Peter Rawlinson, the CEO, says what happened and why they are now pushing it out to a undetermined time frame of when the Lucid Dream Air will be launching. So I'll play a clip and let him explain the reasoning why, and let him shed some color on why it's being postponed.
You've delayed production until the second half of 2021. You said deliveries of Lucid Air would start in the spring. What's behind that delay?
Well, I mean, I was pushing like crazy for spring. And when we met with the Churchill Capital team, and I took Alan Mully out in the car, and Alan drove the car, loved it, the very first car off the production line. We had a meeting of minds with Alan and all his experience from Boeing, with Michael Klein and myself. We all got on like a house on fire, and we recognized that, well, Peter, why are you pushing like crazy for this sort of almost artificial state in spring? What's really important here is to get the quality right. You will know when that is perfect, when it will truly delight a customer. And so they freed me. They said, look, get the product right. Don't work to the artificial construct of a specific date. If it rolls on into the second half of the year, we are okay with that. We'll put the capital. You can pull the trigger when the time is right. We trust you to get it right. We know you want to make it perfect. This is a not deal. We're making a luxury car. And when Tesla came to market with Model S 10 years ago, I think a lot of slack was cut then because, the electric car was such a fun experience. People forgave the build quality issues. The market is not going to be forgiven now. This is a very different world. We have to get things right. And the impact of COVID is not to be underestimated here, Ed. So, we're chasing down a number of suppliers from around the world. We have 250 suppliers, 3,000 parts, and that whole infrastructure, logistic operation has been affected by COVID. So that's had a big impact of just pushing it out a little bit into the second half.
Okay, so because of that, a lot of people were most certainly turned off and a little bit gun shy, right? So that added to the distrust and the sell-off. Okay, so now, like I said, we've settled in at $28, $30 share price, right? So what does Lucid offer? Are they going to be a leader in the electric vehicle space? I'm going to go ahead and tell you I'm going to go ahead, jump in with my opinion a little bit here now and give more insights into why I say my opinion as we go along. But me personally, 100% yes, right? Because Lucid is a proven long-term startup that has been working for a very long time, much like Rivian, where they have been getting lots and lots of funding. This is not like some unproven startup with only concept and renderings. These guys they have a 80 pre-production. They've got 80 Lucid Airs already that are on the roads in showrooms. So they're building out showrooms across the country, and in these showrooms, these pre-production, which is as close to production as you can get. It's the next step to getting mass-produced manufacturing going. So they rolled off a fleet of 80 pre-production Lucid Dream Air editions already. So these guys have 2 factories already built, from CEO to engineers to executives to marketing to all across the board. Super solid. So it checks all the boxes of a kind of company that you're going to say, very good chance this is going to become a blue chip company. And here's their team. I mean, you look across the board and you see the heavyweight executives on the team. Many from Tesla, many from Ford, Intel, Apple, Magna here, Hyundai, GM, eBay, Rivian, Volkswagen, Audi, Mazda, Land Rover, Jaguar, Ferrari. So all kinds of talent here on the team. So things to remember, things to know about Lucid is that they are first and foremost going to be a luxury product line, like a Louis Vuitton, like a Gucci for cars. So this is going to be a luxury car model maker, and that is one of the reasons, as you heard Peter Rawlinson say, they're going to take time because they're rolling off this 180,000 or whatever it's this Dream Edition car is coming off the line at to be sold, so they're going to make sure that they get the quality build correct, so that it should be actually not something that should deter investors. That should actually encourage investors, because they're going, rather than having to go back and redo things, they're going to get it right before they roll it off the line. And as long as I think they begin to have sales in 2021, if it's the second half of the year, third quarter or whatever, I think most investors at that point, once you start seeing these cars on the road and the actual sales of this product, this Lucid Dream Air Edition, then I think you're going to get that's when the hype and buzz is going to really go right back to where it essentially was when all the hype and mania ended at definitive agreement day. So, I mean, you can here's Peter Rawlinson talking about how they can roll off a car every 10 minutes in their current manufacturing plant.
When we're running full chat here, we'll run at 6 jobs per hour on phase 1, which is 1 car every 10 minutes.
So as you can see, I mean, there's robotics and autonomous robots everywhere in this plant. It's a very, very high-end plant that's been well planned, well designed, well thought out. So I think manufacturing is going to be something they're going to be very good at. So again, that's something that should also boost your confidence of investors. That is right now, there's this negative sentiment surrounding the company. Also, one of the executives begins to talk about how the other point I want to kind of home in on is that this is going to be considered a tech company because of they're not only going to be selling cars that have just crazy technology in and of themselves, they're also going to be a producer and manufacturer of batteries and larger storage battery units for businesses. They're going to sell to other OEMs batteries and energy storage units to bigger businesses as well. So there's this whole component. Then they also have home batteries, kind of like the Tesla Powerwall. Lucid's going to have their own with that. So they are very much building out a whole brand and a whole business model, not just cars. And I'm sure they'll have their autonomous software as well. That will be an add-on, a service, and there will be other software, I'm sure, that will be a pay model for that particular software to get added on. So there's revenue lines all over the place that they're going to be able to capitalize on. And being this is a luxury product, their customer base is going to be willing to pay up for these upgrades, right? So wrapping it up here, my take on it is, right now we got this huge sell-off, this negative sentiment. To me, this is a once, maybe twice in 50-year type of company. If they begin to deliver, which all signs point to them with the capital that they raised, this was something that Tesla didn't have. They didn't come in via a SPAC with all of this capital that Lucid Air is going to be ahead of the curve on. Like if you look at Fisker right now is debt free with $1 billion of cash because they came via a SPAC. This SPAC IPO architecture for companies is really, really setting up these early stage companies to really do well, because it's giving them the capital needed to deliver on a plan. And in this case, a very capital intensive business of manufacturing and producing vehicles at scale. So my personal opinion is that I actually began to load up when the shares went way down. I began to accumulate and accumulate and accumulate. And so I've gotten to a pretty large size position now in CCIV, and will gladly add more if there is any more low end volatility. If it hit 20 to 25, I may take a loan out. No, I'm just kidding. No, but I do want to make this a core long hold position in my portfolio. I'm obviously definitely playing tons of other SPACs as well. And, I'm not going to make this, 50, 75% of my portfolio, but I'm going to make it a big chunk of my portfolio to buy and hold, right? So this is through merger, everything. I mean, I could see this company growing within 5 to 10 years to a 250 to 500 billion dollar market cap. 10, like the 500 billion, maybe closer to the 10-year. So that would represent a nice 10x multiple on your shares right now. So let's say in 10 years you could maybe go from 30 to a $300 stock here. So I'm super bullish on it, and like I said, this negative sentiment period here may very well be a blessing to many investors. So that's all I got till next time. Hope you guys enjoyed the content. If you got some value from it, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, turn on notifications, that gets you notified when new videos come out. Pick up some free shares down below. Got WeBull, Moomoo, and M1 Finance. And then also consider joining my Patreon group. It's a great group of investors where we break down SPACs. SPACs are announced essentially immediately. SPAC deals are, and it's just a great think tank of awesome investors that I've got some real good admins and people that that are very trustworthy investors. And like I said, people are really benefiting. It's been a rough week. Many people have had it rough this week, and we all have. I've had a huge hit to my portfolio, but having a Discord like this of close knit people, it's made it a little bit easier. So anyway, that's all I got, and I'm gonna let Mr. Pickle take over and tell you what he thinks. He's very opinionated. So Mr. Pickle really likes Lucid Motors, and he thinks it's going to be Tesla 2.0. There you go. That's all you need to know. Till next time, guys. That's all I got. Deuces.